Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Brian here. Hope everyone's having a good morning. I got my coffee, and although it doesn't seem very hot, it's hot. I thought we could talk a little bit this morning about the Kim Potter trial. I'm assuming that most of you have either seen her testimony or seen clips of it. And I haven't seen enough of her attorney to make a full opinion on the attorney. I don't know if he's a bumbling fool who should be retired, or if her attorney is brilliant playing the prosecution. I'm not exactly sure about that yet, because I have not seen enough of him in action. But good morning, yes. Kim Potter, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, and I want to hear your opinions on this. One, should she be on trial? Let's get that out of the way first. Press 1 if you think Officer Kim Potter should be on trial. 2, no. 1, if you think she should be on trial. Then we'll talk about the case and what happened. But 1, you think she should be on trial. 2, no. I say no, she should not be on trial. And I'm not one of those conservatives that just supports police no matter what. That's not me. Okay, yeah. Yeah, no ones. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you guys. Well, let's get to the, one person, Nancy, really. Maybe you could tell us, Nancy, why you think she should be on trial. Dante Wright, this warrant that they really, when Kim Potter was on the witness stand yesterday, and they were talking about the stop and the warrant that was out for Dante Wright, they acted as if this warrant that was out for Dante Wright was just, parking tickets. They really didn't talk too much about what the warrant was about. It was very vague, and I'm going to have to say that's her attorney's fault. Dante Wright's warrant, he threatened a woman. He was out, he had a warrant out for his arrest. He had threatened a woman with a handgun. This is Dante Wright. This is what the warrant was for. He had violated his bail or whatever he was out on. He had held a woman at gunpoint, put his hand in her bra, and stole $850. I mean, he committed assault and armed robbery. So Dante Wright had committed assault and armed robbery with a handgun, and he put his hand on the woman's bra, and he may have choked her too. But he certainly, without question, held her up at gunpoint, robbed her of $850 that he put his hand on her bra to get. So that's a physical assault, and it's assault and robbery with a deadly weapon, a handgun. Dante Wright was facing 20 years in prison if he got arrested and was taken to the jailhouse that day. Forgetting about the fact that he had the restraining order and he had a woman in the car with him who Kim Potter and the other officers very well could have believed he had taken her. Could have been the woman who made the complaint, the woman that he had robbed at gunpoint. There's all these things. And her lawyer didn't get into any of this stuff. Just, some misdemeanor warrant. What? Are you kidding me? He was facing 20 years in prison if they took him to the jailhouse that day because of this outstanding warrant. And her attorney is amazing, making fools of the prosecution. Okay, because yesterday I was watching him question her. Now, when he came back the second time, he was a little different, so he may be using that as a technique. I don't know. I haven't seen him in action enough. So Dante Wright was facing 20 years in prison. The warrant was a serious warrant. I don't know why it's not a felony warrant. Armed robbery with a handgun, threatened a woman with a handgun, robbed her of $850. He put his hand in the woman's bra that he had at gunpoint and took the money, which is, that's a terrible crime. Could you imagine, ladies, going through that? And that's a dangerous guy. So he's facing 20 years in prison if he goes to the jailhouse that day. Plus, he's got other charges against him. which might have been a little more minor for driving, but he was in violation of his bail. That's what the warrant was for. And he tried to escape. So, my question is this, okay? And I'll ask you guys to let me know what you think about this. Does it matter that she confused the taser and the handgun? Does it matter if she confused the taser and the handgun? And this is what I mean by that, okay? You have to assume that Dante Wright, in that situation, you would have to assume that he is armed with a handgun and he's very dangerous because he's going to lose his freedom for 20 years if he's convicted. And he had the handgun charge. And he tries to escape. Would deadly force have been justified in that instance? Because he went back into the car to try to escape. If she would not have yelled, "Taser, taser, taser," would she be on trial today? What do you guys think? If she would not have yelled, "Taser, taser, taser," would she be on trial today? Is the mistake she made yelling, "Taser, taser, taser," would using the gun have been justified in that instance? I would have to say yes. But I just didn't feel... Now, again, I haven't seen the trial before this because TV hasn't been carrying the trial until yesterday, and I haven't seen the trial prior to this, but her attorney didn't really make a good job of talking about that when he was questioning his client yesterday. Now, maybe it came up earlier in the trial and the jury's already seen that. I don't know. Oh, the car is a weapon within itself. There's no doubt about that one. No doubt about that. I don't know. This one, I don't know anything about the jury. I was not impressed with what I saw from her attorney yesterday. He's either an incompetent old coot like Biden, or he's clever. He's the most clever attorney I've ever seen. Which one it is, I don't know. We'll find out. But I would say the only mistake she made was yelling, "Taser, taser, taser." I would say that using the gun in that instance would have been justified. And I'll say one thing, though. I will say that, she probably should not be a street police officer prior to all this. She's only 5'3", so 5'3". I don't think she's big enough to be a police officer. But that's not my call, and the regulations allow it. So she was. If it was a situation where the suspect wasn't he was trying to escape, and he's facing 20 years in prison for a violent armed robbery with a handgun. So, it's a tragedy that he's gone, that he died. Don't misunderstand me. But I don't think she should be on trial. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think in the chat room. I'll read some of the chat. But that is what I think. My first coffee of the morning. I've been up for about 2.5 hours. Didn't have any coffee at home, unfortunately. Was out of coffee. Just had decaf at home. She's on trial. She shouldn't be a cop. Police officers, especially in particular women, should not be police officers at 5'3". At least not street cops. That's the kind of thing, do some desk work or something. Well, last year there was all this political upheaval going on with Antifa and Black Lives Matter, and we had Rittenhouse, and we had Derek Chauvin. So, she's on trial. True. There's no doubt about it. If people simply comply with the police, they'll live longer. That's right. The street isn't where you make your case. You got to do that in the courtroom. While he was unarmed except for the car, when the guy jumps back into the car, which is what he was doing, I think the officers have to assume that he's got a handgun in there since he had a charge on that, and he could be going for that gun. Now, it's a tragedy. but she should not be on trial. She should not have been arrested. She should have just been allowed to retire. And they should do some new training and change some regulations. 5'3" tall women should not be police officers. It's different for a man. A man at 5'3", 5'4" is much stronger than a woman. You know, sometimes you'll see these tragic stories of joggers, female joggers. They're out jogging, they get attacked, raped, and killed by some fat slob. You ever see these stories? And these are women that are, you know, 5'8", 5'9", they're in peak physical condition, and even a woman in peak physical condition cannot beat most. I mean, look what's going on with the transgendered swimmer, right? Coffee's pretty good. Yeah, I'm 5'7", and I wouldn't be a police officer. No way. No way. You know, I think, you know, a police officer, no one wants to draw their weapon, hopefully, and use it. I'm sure some of them do, but a woman at 5'3" could be a police officer working at the police station. She shouldn't be out on the street because she's too small. I mean, she even, you know, that even came out in the trial. She's too small to fight with the suspect, you know, and I've got an uncle of mine who's a retired, I have a lot of retired police officers in my family, and I've got an uncle who's a retired police officer, and he was in the K-9 unit, and he once had a guy shoot over 160 rounds into his cruiser. Can you believe it? But he was in the K-9 unit, and he's a big, strong guy, and he would be in knockout, drag-out fights with suspects many times, and he told me on many occasions his service dog being there allowed him the chance to get to his weapon so that he could get, you know, subdue the suspect. Yeah. You know, it's you can get in knockout, drag out fights and be overwhelmed easily, especially when someone's facing losing freedom, like Dante Wright was. It's a tragedy. You know, I'm not saying that it's not a tragedy, but if he did not jump back into the car, we would never have heard of any of these people. We wouldn't be talking. I'd be talking about something else this morning as opposed to Kim Potter. But, you know, last year was the year that cops had to be arrested and everything else. And I really think that the police footage, the dashboard and the body cam footage even further clear her. But I was very disappointed that they did not get into the details of what that warrant was. They acted in the trial yesterday like Dante Wright's warrant was some frivolous speeding ticket thing, you know, or something. They didn't really get into that he was a violent guy who used a handgun to rob a woman and assaulted the woman with a handgun and robbed her. I mean, that's a scary thing to do. I mean, if some guy came up to me right now with a handgun, choked me, reached in my pocket while he's holding a handgun at me and stole $850, and he left, the first thing you guys would say to me is, Brian, you're lucky to have escaped with your life. That guy could have killed you. So Dante Wright was potentially a very deadly, wanted man. You know? I got to take my wife's car to get cleaned this morning and washed. Waiting for the car wash to open. They open in a few minutes. Try to be the first person there. He was so out of it, he didn't know where he was that night. I don't know. I didn't read anything about drugs in his system, but they smelled marijuana coming from the car, so he had to be at least high on that. I mean, think about it. He's got a warrant out for his arrest, which he knows, right, on an armed robbery charge. Hey, Chuck. Remember, he robbed a woman with a handgun, choked her, stole $850 that he put his hand down her bra to get. So, I mean, that's a hardcore criminal. He's driving around with no license. He's driving around in a car with no driver's license. The plates are no good on the car. And he's smoking weed, driving around. I mean, what the hell? What the hell? Well, thank you, Prancer. Yeah, I don't clean my car. I don't take my car to the car wash, I guess. My car, I haven't washed my car. I clean out the inside, but I haven't washed my car in a long time. But my wife's car, I like her to have the nice, clean car. Mary, sadly, that seems to be the case. And I want to give you guys an update on Sarah, because I know I wouldn't give her a medal, but give you guys an update on Sarah. The update is there's been no change in really about a week, which is good news. She's been on a ventilator for, today is either the 11th or 12th day on the ventilator. I've lost track. Today is either day 11 or 12 on the ventilator. She has not gotten worse, which is good news. My wife talks to Sarah's mother and cousin. And Sarah's cousin said that her doctor told her at the hospital that the average time that someone is on a vent until they're taken off is 3 weeks. So this is day 11 or 12 for Sarah. So she's got a ways to go in that, but average, some could be longer, some could be less. But I will take it as good news is that she's not declined, right? That she's the same. They did do, there is one update that's positive. They did a biopsy on her lungs. I'm not sure what they cultured, but there was no infection in her lungs. So she had pneumonia, so that means she no longer has pneumonia. I don't know if that means she no longer has COVID or not. I do not know. But now, my wife deals with her doctors so much, and we've dealt with the hospitals so much that sometimes when my wife's at the hospital or it's positive news, when my wife's in the hospital or we're at a doctor's office and they're new, sometimes they'll ask me or my wife, do you work in the healthcare field? Are you a physician? Are you because we know so much about my wife's, we know so much about medical things relating to my wife, because we've been dealing with this for 25 years. And so we're very inquisitive. Most people, I find, even in my own family, are not as inquisitive with the doctors as we are. So, but I would say it's good news. Yeah, this is where I come to do my Saturday or Sunday live streams for coffee most of the time. I'm in front of a coffee shop's right here, but I'm sitting in front of a pizza shop that hasn't opened yet, and this is in Parkland, down the street from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, where that terrible shooting happened. Yeah, investigating the white supremacy. Well, here's the thing, okay, with the defense secretary, who is the most vacuous man I've ever seen as defense secretary. When I saw him testify, what's his name again, the defense secretary? Biden can't remember his name, so I shouldn't be required to. I've forgotten his name, the defense secretary. But he is vacuous. I mean, he is just stupid. Yeah, Lloyd Austin. He's got about the same, and I'm not saying this to be mean. I think he's a stupid person. Have you seen him testify? I'm not saying because he's liberal, okay, and those are stupid ideas. I'm telling you, this guy is the dumbest man I've ever seen that was a 4-star general and is Secretary of Defense. And it's not his politics. He's a stupid, stupid man. Yeah, Biden calls him that guy, so why can't I call him that guy? Yeah, Austin. And General Milli Vanilli, I don't know why that doesn't catch on. General Milli Vanilli. He's so radical and liberal, and this investigating white supremacy in the military, what they're trying to say is that all MAGA people are white supremacists. And, let me tell you something. If that was true, if MAGA was a white supremacist organization, I'd be out of it. I don't support any of that. I would say most people that talk about white supremacists and Klansmen and everything have never been around one or have never seen one. And, I've lived in Florida since 1982. And when I first came to Florida, I did not live in this beautiful area I'm at now. I lived I was a kid in an area called Okeechobee, which is a two-horse town on the northern tip of Lake Okeechobee, which is that, if you ever see the map of Florida, you see that big lake in Florida, that's Lake Okeechobee. And the Klan ruled that town. Black people were not allowed out at night. It wasn't an official law, but they just didn't go out at night. And if you went to, and I never experienced anything like this being from Ohio, and if I went to, with my parents, if I went to a restaurant, there were no black people there because black people were not allowed to go out at street. Now, and that was like 1982, that's deep Democrat South area, and this is like 81, 82, and, the people that are running things back then are these old Southern Democrat segregationists. It was still around, and that was really just terrible. And I remember once the Klan openly, without their hoods on, had an event in the middle of the town. I was scared. I thought it was the creepiest, scariest thing I'd ever seen. And I remember when I first started in talk radio, and I was working at this talk radio station here in South Florida, one of the hosts brought in a Klansman as a guest. And I never really met, as an adult, I saw that thing when I was a kid. I didn't meet any of them. I never met someone from the Klan. I wasn't on the air with them, but I saw him at the radio station, and it was ugly. It was the ugliest thing you could ever imagine encountering. And I was talking a couple weeks ago when I had my first regular job, on the clock when I was in high school. I was about 15, 16 here in Florida, and I was a bag boy at Publix, which is the big grocery chain here in Florida. And this was in Fort Lauderdale, and the managers, so this was like 1987, 1986, so the managers were guys that were like 40. So they grew up in the 50s and 60s and early 70s in South Florida. So these are good old boys. Old Democrat, good old boys. And I remember, I'd never seen, this just blew my mind. It was so strange. I can remember black families would come into the store shopping, and the managers would follow them around the store to make sure they didn't steal, they would say. I couldn't believe it. And I remember one guy in particular, he was the manager of the meat department, who I had an encounter with many years later. And this family, they're a black family, like any other family, they're going, I know, it's great. They went down they were going down this aisle, and this manager, the meat department manager, was not only following them, he was peering, like this is the aisle, like this is the wall, and he was like over here, and he was like spying on them, see if he could catch them stealing. I never understood anything like that. I've never seen anything like that. That's real institutionalized racism. That is true hatred and discrimination and white supremacy and all that stuff. And I don't know how many of you have seen things like that. I don't know. But it's ugly. And even as a kid, I was like, what the hell is this all about? I'd never seen or experienced anything like that before. So what's going on now isn't that. Those days are over now. Thankfully so. And now what the left want to do is anyone who disagrees with them politically, they want to dub a white supremacist. They want to dub a Klansman. So it's cops and MAGA. It is horrible, Andre. It is horrible, and it's ugly, And people today have no idea. Like I remember I met John Lewis. Remember John Lewis? I met John Lewis once in the, I don't know, about 97, 96, 97, 98. We had him on the radio, and I was so excited to meet him. He was a good guy. In his later years, he went down the tubes. But he was a Democrat. People give him a hard time. But I went up and shook hands to him, and I said, "I'm proud to meet you." And I said to him, because John Lewis was a freedom rider, and you see him anytime they show any documentary on Martin Luther King, and you see the freedom riders go to the bus station, you see this young guy with his hand on his head that some white Democrat bashed his head in or something. That's John Lewis. And I shook his hand. I said, "I'm so proud to meet you, Congressman." I said, "This is the closest I'll ever get to Martin Luther King." Donald Trump, okay, because they're talking about MAGA being racist, white supremacist. The reason I tell you all this is Florida, which is now the most conservative place in America, where President Trump lives. We got Ron DeSantis here. Florida, because it used to be part of the deep Democrat Jim Crow South, has a long history of racism. And one thing that they used to even talk about in the 80s and 90s is, all the super rich liberals are up around where Mar-a-Lago is. Okay? I live in the same county, but not the same neighborhood. There's a town called West Palm Beach. That's where the regular people live. And you go literally over the bridge of the Intercoastal, and there's an island called Palm Beach Island. And that's where Mar-a-Lago is, and Jeffrey Epstein lived, okay? And all these uber, super rich billionaires, and Rush, and all the rest, right? And even in the 90s, there were golf clubs and country clubs that did not allow blacks and Jews to be members. Didn't allow blacks or Jews to be members in the 90s. And President Trump with Mar-a-Lago, his resort, his club, Mar-a-Lago, was the first club to allow blacks and Jews. First one. First one. Have you ever heard anyone tell you that? Of course not, because, so if he's, and that was not a popular thing to do. That was not a popular thing to do in Palm Beach. Now they've all changed, but Donald Trump led the way on that. So if he's the leader of some white supremacist organization, why was he the first guy in Palm Beach to allow blacks and Jews to become members of his club when the other ones wouldn't allow it? It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And I know that if MAGA was what these lefties say it is, white supremacist, I know you guys wouldn't be a part of it either. But you know what? Either would Donald Trump. So that's that. I mean, I think, it's just disgusting what they're doing. Just disgusting. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everyone who's just jumping in. Make sure you subscribe if you're new here. And everybody like the video. And if you want to support my channel here on YouTube, my podcast, the Steve Kane Radio Show, of course, use that link in the chat to mypillow.com and buy something for someone for Christmas using our promo code Kane at checkout, K-A-N-E. In particular, 50% off that 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper that saved Andrea. That's true. Veritas 93. President Trump also had a black girlfriend. Clearly the behavior of a bigot. Exactly. But you know what the liberals would say to that, Chuck? They would say, well, Thomas Jefferson had a black girlfriend. It wasn't the same thing. I have not heard a true story from anyone who has interacted with President Trump prior to him being in politics that ever had a bad word. MyPillow does have beds. Yes, they do. And there's big discounts on. I don't talk about the beds, but they do have beds with huge discounts with the promo code Kane as well. They have, not only does MyPillow have beds, they have multiple types of beds and incredible mattresses as well. And huge discounts, hundreds of dollars in discounts on the beds and the mattresses with the promo code Kane at checkout, K-A-N-E. Well, yeah. But will they? That's what they would say. Beds? Oh, they've had beds the whole time. Yeah, I just don't usually talk about them too much. Yeah, they have beds, bed frames. Yeah. Oh, you got your towels. The towels are awesome. You know, I took a shower right before I came here today. All our My Pillow towels were dirty, and I used one of our regular old towels. Man, I'd forgotten how bad our old towels were. I had to use 2 towels to dry off because I used one of our old towels. I'm going to tell Kathy we got to throw out all those old towels. Well, you know, listen, the Sally Hemings, the big problem that, you know, Democrats like to judge people based on the standards of today. I mean, you know, so they'll take Jefferson, Washington, Teddy Roosevelt. I mean, I'm 50, right? If you guys out there that are my age, if just think to back in your high school days and early 20s when you were dating, by today's standards, what would your dating habits in high school and in your early 20s be considered by the standards of today? They wouldn't be looked upon too fondly, probably. I mean, I don't know how guys date today. I don't know how they do it. I really don't. I mean, look at this stuff going on with Chris Noth. You know, all of a sudden, all these women, Sex and the City comes back, and he's in this Peloton commercial, and all of a sudden, 4 or 5 women come out and accuse Chris Noth of sexually assaulting them. I don't know if he did it or not, but the timing seems a little coincidental, doesn't it? It does to me. There's always crazy stuff going on, Bobby. No doubt about that. Guys buy the nicest car they can find, drive it, wait for women to jump in the car. That's right, Mr. Big. And by the way, why is Kim Potter on trial and Alec Baldwin's not even been arrested? I'm going to try to watch the rest of it this weekend. I watched the first half. I talked about it on the radio yesterday, but I haven't had a chance to watch the second half. 2020 did a whole piece on the Alec Baldwin shooting, and I watched the first half of it. And does he have a contract with ABC? Like, he did the Match Game, remember, a couple years ago? Was that ABC? Because ABC seems to want to clear Alec Baldwin. This whole piece that they did on 2020, this is beyond the interview with that idiot Stephanopoulos. But this whole 2020 is about clearing Alec Baldwin and blaming the prop master. It's really a tragic story. You know, that poor girl that Alec Baldwin killed. You know, Kim Potter was an obvious mistake. Yeah. You know, that. If you look at the incident with Dante Wright and Kim Potter, first of all, should Dante Wright have even had bail, right? He was out on a violent weapons charge, armed robbery with a handgun, and assault. Should he have even been out on bail with a charge like that, you know? And if you really think about it, everything that happened with Kim Potter and Dante Wright is the fault of the liberals. Soft on crime, this violent guy committed an armed robbery with a handgun out on bail. Insane, right? Posted bond. Another thing liberals are responsible for is Kim Potter herself. You know, she's a 5'3" woman. Nothing against women. I know a lot of you women in here could probably kick my ass, okay? But, you know, should a police officer out on the street be a 5'3" tall woman? You know, I knew a guy who was a cousin of mine. Well, he still is a cousin of mine. Oh, no, he's not. He's passed away. But he was, I can't remember his height, but he became a cop either in the late 70s or early 80s. He couldn't get hired because he didn't meet the height requirement. He wasn't that short. He was like 5'5"-ish, something like that. and he was too short. And they changed the requirements. He got a job at another department. So liberalism is why you have a woman who's 5'3" out on the road dealing with people that are facing 20 years loss of freedom, like Dante Wright was. That's a liberal thing. And thirdly, the taser enforcement, not a cop, but they have these tasers on, and I think that endangers everybody, because there's a couple things I think get people in line when they're dealing with police, and one of them is physical intimidation. That can de-escalate things. You don't have that when liberals are allowing a woman who's 5'3" to be on the road on patrol. The second thing is the threat of deadly force, and the taser takes that away. So I'm not saying that police officers should not have tasers, but they shouldn't be in the shape of a gun. They should not be in the shape of a gun. They should be like those handheld. Remember, like the personal tasers that people have. They should be in a different. If they're going to have them at all, they should be in a different shape. Not the shape of a gun. Look. Accidents happen. The Space Challenger, or the Space Shuttle Challenger explosion. There were several people directly responsible for that. They knew on the Challenger that those O-rings would not be safe, that they would harden and not be safe if temperatures reached a certain temperature. And they let it launch anyway. Time and time again. It's a miracle it didn't happen before. Same thing goes with the Columbia. The Columbia disintegrated. They knew there were problems with the tiles on the reusable thing. You don't arrest and charge everyone when there's an accident. But there's a lot of errors. Most of it is the fault of liberals. And why would you have? I'll ask you guys. 1, it makes sense. 2, it does not make sense. So the question I'm going to ask: 1, it makes sense. 2, it makes no sense at all. Should a taser in any way, shape, or form be shaped like a gun, like a regular firearm? What do you guys think? With a handle and everything. I know it's yellow. I know it's big, but it makes no sense at all to me. No sense at all. I mean, you're in a heated situation like that. You got a guy who's facing 20 years. He's wanted on a warrant for a crime he committed with a handgun. He jumps in his car. You and your guys, you could all be dead. It makes no sense at all. They should be a different shape altogether. I don't know what shape that is. I'm not an expert on these things, but it should not have a handle and a trigger like a firearm. No way. So there's a lot of mistakes to go around here. A lot of mistakes to go around. It could be shaped like a flashlight. Maybe like a flashlight. I don't know. How effective are those tasers on someone who's hopped up on weed? Shaped like a phaser? Yeah, the phaser from the Next Generation kind of looks like a hand vacuum. You know what I mean? Like you use in the cars. No. But I was not impressed with her attorney when he was questioning her. Now, he did come back stronger, but I just wasn't. She has, to me, it seems like she has incompetent counsel. Yeah, when I was in 10th grade, it tells you how things change today, right? A kid brought in a taser, and it was one of those old tasers, and it was the one that had the two, metal electrical prongs coming out of the top, and when you touch it, you could see the electricity go through. And being the smarty pants punk that I was, I told him to tase me with it, because he was, oh yeah, my brother tased me with it. It's nothing. And I told him to tase me with it. We were in class, and he tased me with it, and I don't remember what it was like. I just remember waking up on the floor with all the kids in the class picking me up. I don't remember any. recollection of it. And you know what? No one got in trouble. No one got in trouble. No one was sent to the office. There was a teacher in the room. Could you imagine if that was now? I was in 10th grade, so that was like 87. Now, I'll never do it again. Did I pee myself? I don't think so. I think I'd remember that. No. And after I recovered, I went to my next class. Didn't know. Oh, they'd have the whole place on lockdown. You know, they'd have helicopters over. It'd be on national television. It'd be all over social media. Barbecue igniters. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh. I remember once when I was in 5th grade. It's so funny what you remember, and I can remember the grades. And the reason I can remember the grade is because when something happens, I can remember who was there and where I was. When I was in 5th grade, this kid, he went home sick. He went to the office. He wasn't feeling good, and he left his stuff on his desk. And the teacher came to the desk, and she picked up his stuff, and she picked up his jacket, and the floor was wood. And right out of the jacket, right onto the wood floor, made this huge noise, was a big old hunting knife. A big old hunting knife. I mean, like a Rambo hunting knife fell right out on the floor, and everyone was like, "Woo, woo!" This was here in Florida, and he came back to class, and the teacher says, "What do you got this knife?" And he says, "I was hunting over the weekend with my dad, and I had the knife, and I forgot that it was in my pocket." And the teacher said, "Okay," and let him go. You know, can you believe? Could you imagine if that was today? I'm like, it makes me sound old, but that things like that could happen. If that were today, oh my goodness, expulsion. Yeah. A picture of a knife or drawing, exactly. She let him go home with it, didn't even send him back to the office, didn't even do anything. She said, "Okay." Exactly. Oh my gosh. That's pretty funny. SWAT team, exactly. You know why? Because this country is a country of wussies today. I'd say the P word, but I don't want to say the P word. But that's what you know what I mean? That's what this country is. A country of wimpy wussies. You know? Yeah. Yeah. The only time I had, did any of you guys have, I don't even know if they make these anymore. Did any of you guys remember the switchblade combs? Anybody remember those? The switchblade combs? It looked like a switchblade, and then you would hit it, and then it was a comb. Anybody have one of those? Oh no Red Riders anymore. No, yeah, I had one too. Yep. We'd go up to kids, then comb your hair. You probably buy them on Amazon. I don't know. That's exactly right, Dave. That's exactly right. I just don't want to say the word on the thing here. Yeah, aren't those cool? Absolutely. Yeah, you guys all remember. Yeah, it was Fonzie. That's exactly right. It was from Happy Days. That's exactly right. Because he used to do that, right? You'd think Fonzie had a switchblade, and then he would comb his hair. Your hairdresser still has one? Oh my goodness. That's pretty funny. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you can buy those anymore. I don't know. I haven't seen one of those in a long time. Oh yeah, the switchblade comb. That's a throwback. That would get you in big trouble today too. They're on Amazon. Yeah. That would get you in big trouble today. Well, when I was a kid, we all carried pocket knives, you know. You can buy them. Bell? Do you mean Bell? I don't know where Bell is. Do you mean Bell Glade? I'm not sure where Bell is. There's Bell Glade. Hey, Philadelphia. Good morning to you. Clackers? I don't remember clackers. No, I don't remember clackers. Oh yeah, me and my friends, we used to have, we used to play BB Wars, you know, where we would, I remember at my, this guy, I was at my grandparents' house, and they lived on a canal, and there was this other kid on the other side of the canal, and we used to shoot at each other with bottle rockets. Like, he would shoot bottle rockets at me, and I would get on the roof and shoot bottle rockets back at him, and we would shoot at each other with our BB guns. Everything. Yeah, BB Wars. Oh yeah, no glasses on, nothing. You know, yeah. My dad caught me playing BB Wars, and he just said, "Don't do that. It's not safe." I said, "Okay." He didn't even take the guns away. I had 2 BB guns. He didn't even take them away. I don't know what clackers are. You used to be able to, in Florida, in the 70s and 80s, you could be any age, you could walk into any convenience store, 7-Eleven or anything, and buy bottle rockets. Those were amazing. They were dangerous too, but they were fun. You can't get those anymore. You know, people were tougher. We were just tougher. You know, now, you know, all the kids, they have all this electronic gizmo like I'm doing here, you know, and they don't go out and get into trouble. You know, we used to go out and get in trouble. Oh yeah, a couple of balls on the end of a thick string. Oh, I think that sounds familiar. Yes, I know, yeah, clackers. I know exactly what you're talking about. Absolutely. Did you pretend you were like some ninja or something with those? I know exactly what you're talking about with the clackers now. Absolutely. Yeah, BB Woods, no gear, no glasses. Yeah. 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 Never any of that. I never did paintball. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking. The clack. I know exactly what you're talking about now. Absolutely. Blow darts. Yeah, we had blow dart guns. Everything. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Kids today, they're just, those kids today, makes you sound old, right? But going out and doing all of those things, you know, blow darts, the clackers, the bottle rockets, the BB Wars, having pocket knives and all these things, it toughens you up. It toughens you up, you know? And you just don't have that anymore, you know? Yeah. You know, we didn't have cell phones. We'd be gone. We'd leave. We'd get up in the morning. Parents still in bed. You'd leave the house. You'd come back when it was dark. Parents had no way to know where you were to get a hold of you. You know, and you're getting in all this trouble. You know, and that really, it doesn't just toughen you up. It makes you independent. And people that are like the AOC age and the Mayor Pete age, they grew up in a different time. They're not independent, and they're a bunch of wimps, you know? All that stuff, it's not about making you making you tough. It's about making you independent, you know? Exactly. Exactly. Like, I think the dumbest thing I ever did, I don't have the scar anymore, really. It's kind of healed up, but I've done some stupid things. Yeah. Yes, feral children. That's exactly right. But I have noticed, you know, in my neighborhood, my wife and I, we've lived in our house for 17 years. And, you know, neighborhoods turn over, you know, statistically they say every 16 years. So, you know, but the neighborhood has done a couple of turnovers, and I don't know if this is just my neighborhood or if this is just that age, but the kids in my neighborhood that are elementary school age and middle school age, I notice they're outside on their bikes a lot now, riding around with their friends, getting into trouble a little bit. You know, 10 years ago, the last few years, you never saw a kid, you wouldn't even know a kid lived in the neighborhood, right? Because there were no kids outside playing. And now I see a lot more kids outside playing in the street and stuff, and riding their bikes around. So that tells you that there's been some good changes, you know. Oh yeah, some of the stuff we used to do. I remember we used to do stunts. My friend had one of those Evel Knievel dirt bikes. I always wanted one of those. The Evel Knievel dirt bikes. Bell is near Gainesville. Oh, Gainesville's far. I mean, hey Chuck, how far do you think I am from Gainesville? Gainesville is probably 5 hours from me, north of me. You know. But we would build ramps, ride our bikes over them, you know, jumping off hills, doing tree houses, doing all kinds of stuff. But I'm glad, it makes me feel good that I see kids outside doing things again for the first time in like 10 years, you know. All those are you talking about those, what were those things called? They were white little things, you buy them in a box, and you throw them down on the ground, and when they hit the ground, they like explode a little bit. You guys know what I'm talking about? If you did that today, oh my gosh, kids would have a meltdown. What were those things called? I can't, snaps? I don't know, maybe. That doesn't sound familiar. You guys know what I'm talking about, though. Poppers, that's right, poppers. Poppers, that's exactly right. Exactly. Some of the dumb things I did as a kid. Oh my gosh. I remember once a friend of mine, we decided we were gonna cut open the batteries to see the acid inside. And then I got some of the acid on my finger. Oh my gosh, it hurt like a mother. Didn't go home and tell my mom. Now at 911, you go to the hospital. You know, M80s. M80s were a little more intense. You know, cherry bombs, you know, M80s. Those are a little more intense. Oh yeah. Yeah, I even took, with my friends, on more than one occasion, took some bullets from somebody, I don't know who, and we would open up the bullets, take out the gun, which is not easy to do, by the way, without the right tools in a shop, you know, with like pliers and things, and take out the powder outside of the bullet, and then light it. Kid wouldn't even think of doing that now. If some kid were cutting open a bullet for the gunpowder, oh my gosh. Stretch Armstrong, that's exactly right, yeah. See, we're dating ourselves. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes I'll see the poppers around still. Yeah. But, hey, maybe the parents of the elementary middle schoolers are a little tougher, you know? Or maybe they've just been, after being locked up for so long from the pandemic, they want people out. Want them out of the house, you know? Toy guns with holsters, they don't sell those anymore? Oh my goodness. Heading to bed, Bobby. Yeah, I'm going to run. I got to go take my wife's car to the car wash and clean it inside and out for her. So when she gets up, we're going to finish up our Christmas shopping today. So I want to get the car clean so when we go Christmas shopping. Your topper's on the way? Yes, please. If you want to support my channel, my content, my podcast, the radio show, go to mypillow.com. Use our promo code Kane at checkout, K-A-N-E, and buy something. Whatever you buy, make sure you use the promo code Kane. But I put the link in the chat room. It's pinned, and it's also in the description of the video. Yep. All right, guys. I got to take off, but I'll see you soon, all right? Thanks for watching.